news, of course, beginning with the headlines. More than 200,000 people, including around 50 world leaders, gathered at Vatican this Saturday for the final farewell ceremony of Pope Francis, making it a historic moment of tribute and prayer. While Rwanda has begun taking steps to protect its economy as the future of the African Growth Opportunity Act trade agreement with the US remains uncertain, potentially ending this Saturday. On the international scene, Trump and Zelensky hold private talks in Vatican, urging push for Russia-Ukraine peace negotiations. Of course, many thanks for joining us, and we kick our story tonight with more than 200,000 mourners gathered on Saturday at the Vatican for the final farewell ceremony of the Pope Francis. The event drew around 50 heads of state and senior government officials from around the world. Among those in attendance is US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and other global leaders. The mass held at St. Peter's Square was led by Cardinal Gavoni Battista, a Reverend Dean of the College of Cardinals. In his homily, Cardinal described Pope Francis as a leader deeply dedicated to the Church and the people of God, and as a true man of the people.
In this majestic St. Peter's Square, where Pope Francis celebrated the Eucharist so many times and presided over great gatherings over the past 12 years, we are gathered with sad hearts in prayer around his mortal remains. Yet we are sustained by the certainty of faith, which assures us that human existence does not end in the tomb, but in the Father's house, in a life of happiness that will know no end.
We are here in large numbers to pray for Pope Francis, that God may welcome him into the immensity of his love. Pope Francis used to conclude his speeches and meetings by saying, "Do not forget to pray for me." Now, dear Pope Francis, we now ask you to pray for us. We ask you from heaven, may you bless the Church, may you bless Rome and bless the whole world, as you did last Sunday from the balcony of this basilica, in a final embrace with all the people of God, but also embrace humanity that seeks the truth with a sincere heart and holds high the torch of hope.
Now, at the close of his homily, Cardinal recalled Pope Francis' request to the faithful to pray for me. Well, after the Mass, Pope Francis was laid to rest in a private burial at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, in accordance with his wish and a departure from the traditional burial at St. Peter's Basilica, observed by most of his predecessors. With the burial completed, preparations will now begin for the election of the next Pope. Under church law, only cardinals under the age of 80 are eligible to vote in the conclave. The government of Rwanda has officially recognized the important role of Pope Francis played in the strengthening relations between the Catholic Church of Rwanda and Rwanda. At a national memorial service in Kigali, Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente conveyed President Paul Kagame's appreciation for the late Pope's efforts towards reconciliation, truth, and social development, and during his 12 years of leadership. We do have more on this. Pope Francis' leadership was marked by strong and positive ties with Rwanda. On 20th March 2017, President Paul Kagame and the First Lady Jeanette Kagame met Pope Francis at the Vatican in Rome, in Italy. Following Pope Francis' passing earlier this week, President Paul Kagame joined world leaders in expressing sorrow over the death of the Catholic Church leader. He described Pope Francis as a symbol of forgiveness, humility, and solidarity across the globe. Through his official X, formerly Twitter account, President Paul Kagame highlighted that under Pope Francis' leadership, Rwanda and the Catholic Church entered a new era, saying his leadership was marked by an honest recognition of the Church's history in Rwanda, leading to a new era of fruitful relations between the Catholic Church and our nation, one rooted in truth, reconciliation, and a shared commitment to the well-being of Rwandans. During the memorial mass for Pope Francis held on Friday evening, the Right Honorable Dr. Edward Ngirenhe, speaking on behalf of the President of the Republic, extended condolences to the Catholic faithful. He also stressed that it was a fitting moment to honor Pope Francis' contribution during his 12 years of leadership and to reflect on the strengthened partnership between the Catholic Church and Rwanda.
Kuri ubu turishimira ku mubano mwiza w'igihugu cyacu na Kiliziya Gatolika ushingiye ku kuri.
Today we celebrate our strong relationship with the Catholic Church, rooted in truth, reconciliation, and a shared commitment to the well-being of Rwandans. We thank the late Pope Francis for helping the Catholic Church in Rwanda receive its first-ever cardinal. Among the lessons from his legacy is humility, love, and mercy. These values can help us live peacefully with one another. The government of Rwanda thanks the Catholic Church for its continued contribution to national development, and we look forward to continuing this partnership.
Monsignor Antoine Kambanda.
This historic relationship was symbolized when the Archbishop of Kigali, Antoine Kambanda, was elevated to the level of cardinal on the 28th November 2020. Cardinal Kambanda recalls the joy of the moment and the significance of Pope Francis' gesture.
13
of us were ordained cardinals on the 28th November, which is also the feast of Our Lady of Kibeho in the Catholic Church. To me, this was a great symbol of how deeply the Pope cared for the Catholic Church in Rwanda. Pope Francis, who passed away at the age of 88, was from Argentina and served as the head of the Catholic Church for 12 years. Now, Rwanda has begun implementing measures to mitigate the potential impacts of the suspension of the African Growth Opportunity Act trade agreement between the United States and sub-Saharan African countries, an accord that could end later this year. Among the steps being taken are efforts to escalate and strengthen intra-African trade, as well as to expand markets for Rwandan goods beyond Africans to other regions of the world. The AGOA agreement, designed to facilitate exports from sub-Saharan African nations to the US market, may be terminated as early as September. According to Rwanda's Minister of Trade and Industry, Prudence Sebahizi, current US international trade policy does not favor the continuation of AGOA. Economic analysts note that although the end of AGOA would have limited direct impact on Rwanda, given the relatively small volume of Rwandan exports to the US market, both the government and the private sector actors should continue proactively planning to caution potential disruption. Minister Sebahizi added that Rwanda, alongside other African countries, has already initiated specific strategies to protect its economy from any adverse effects stemming from changes in U.S. trade policy. Established in 2000 under the U.S. President Bill Clinton, AGOA granted tax exemptions on more than 1,800 products originating from sub-Saharan Africa, with an additional 5,000 products eligible for duty-free treatment under the Generalized System of Preference program on which AGOA was built. A total of 32 sub-Saharan African countries, including Rwanda, have been eligible to benefit from the trade opportunities offered under the agreement. Now, over the past 3 years, Rwanda has become more than just a host country for the Chadians that it has now become a place of opportunities. These Chadians living in Rwanda greatly appreciate the equal opportunities they are given, similar to those of the local citizens. They emphasize that this is the main reason their numbers have tripled over the past 3 years. Enora Gladys.
Investors, students, and employees in various activities here in Rwanda include also citizens of the country of Chad. Their experience here in Rwanda may vary. Let's hear what they have to talk about it.
I arrived in Rwanda in 2021. My goal was to study in a country that could help me contribute to Africa's development, and I realized Rwanda was that place. I was attracted by the quality of education available and the economic structure of the country. There's so much to learn here that I believe I can use to help develop my home country, Chad.
Afin de pouvoir implémenter cela dans mon très cher pays, le Tchad.
Il y a tellement de choses en fait que j'aime dans ce pays, à l'organisation.
There are many things I love about this country, especially how it operates. What mainly led me to choose Rwanda for my studies was the unique nature of its education system and the equal access to education for everyone, along with the safety. I knew that if I came here, I would be learning in a secure environment and could also invest in different ventures.
D'autres opportunités entrepreneuriales également.
Both business people and those in regular employment often highlight Rwanda's efficient systems.
After my employment contract ended, I had already grown fond of Rwanda and saw the opportunities available, so I asked myself, why not stay? I decided to stay and continue working. I was fortunate to work with great people and share knowledge. When I hear people saying Rwanda is unsafe, I'm always shocked because I live here and experience complete security. I can move around at any time of the day or night. So I consider such claims to be lies spread by those trying to tarnish Rwanda's image. I currently have many projects I want to carry out here, and frankly, I don't see any other country where I could better implement them than Rwanda.
Je ne vois pas notre pays que je peux réaliser ces projets à part le Rwanda.
Je suis venu au but. Le but est de visiter le Rwanda.
I initially came to Rwanda just to visit, having heard many people speak positively about the country. Later, I applied for a teaching job and was accepted. I quickly adapted thanks to my colleagues and the good leadership. Now I work without any problem and I feel like I'm in my own country.
Chez moi actuellement.
Today, Rwanda is a home to more than 3,000 Chadians, a number that's tripled in just 3 years. And while they continue to build new lives here, they also hold on to hopes that their home country will strengthen diplomatic ties with Rwanda by opening an embassy in Kigali, as it is currently represented in Rwanda through its embassy in Congo-Brazzaville. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
The Water and Sanitation Corporation, WASAC, has announced plans to repair and renovate 67 water pipes across Rwanda, aiming to address persistent water shortages, and particularly during the dry seasons. In Kabuga Sel, Rusororo sector, Gasabo district, in Kigali city, residents continue to face difficulties accessing clean water close to their homes despite the presence of more than 3 public water points. Some of these facilities have been out of service for over 5 years. The 7th Householder Living Condition Survey recently revealed that while 90% of the water infrastructure has been extended closer to communities, significant gaps remain, with many questioning why water is still not reaching households despite the existing systems. WASAC stated that in addition to renovating of the 67 pipes, there are ongoing projects to construct and expand and also repair 55 water systems in 11 districts. These efforts are expected to significantly reduce water shortages, especially during the upcoming dry season. The survey further highlighted a concerning trend: the proportion of citizens with ease to access drinking water have dropped from 53% in 2017 to 45% nationwide. Under Rwanda's second phase of the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2, the government aims to ensure that no citizen has to walk more than 30 minutes to fetch clean water. There are 120 Now, there are 124 households are still needed to build for vulnerable There are 124 houses, still needed to build for vulnerable survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rulindo district. While 53 other houses require renovation, the district has pledged to do everything possible to complete this work quickly. One of these houses belongs to Amonsha Mukandanga, who lives in Gakosel, Gifumba village, Lusiga sector. Her house, built shortly after the genocide against the Tutsi was stopped, had become depleted, and during the Muganda Community Service today, district officials, and especially those responsible for social welfare, participated in replacing the old roof of her house and providing her with an envelope to support and to give her help to lay cement on the floor. The Rulindo District Executive Secretary, Jean Dodier Shimimana, said that the district is using every possible means to ensure that all the 124 houses are built and 53 houses are renovated as soon as possible. In addition, these efforts in the Rulindo District Council currently is undertaking an initiative called Quality Service for a Brighter Rulindo, during which they aim to complete the construction and renovation of several houses. From 2011 to 2024, Rulindo District built houses for 4,400 vulnerable genocide survivors.
wa sosiyete turakwibutsa ko buri sosiyete isabwa n'itegeko kubika ibitabo bya sosiyete ndetse no gushyikiriza RDB amakuru abikubiyemo. Ibyo bitabo birimo igitabo cy'abanyamigabane, icy'abagenewe inyungu ku migabane, inyandiko y'amakuru ya sosiyete, ibaruramari ngarukamwaka n'izindi. Gutanga amakuru y'ugenewe inyungu ku migabane wanyura kuri bo.rdb.rw, naho gutanga izindi nyandiko ukanyura kuri org.rdb.rw.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi harabamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza harabanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye zibimamo. Bigereho.
Mvangiye kubarira 1 2 3 itugwamo. So 1 2 3 gwamo. One bro.
Mbere kanda akanyenyeri 3 kane 5 akanyenyeri 2 urwego maze nawe ugwemo.
Ndanezerewe umunezero nsaba umutima, ndakora akazi kanjye ndacatinga data ntizishira enda nawe gwamo
wikwisondeka.
Let's continue with RwandaTV news, the international scene. Pope Francis has been laid to rest at the Papal Basilica in Rome, with tens of thousands of people and more than 100 delegations having come together to pay their last respects to the late leader of the Catholic Church. Euronews with the details.
Pope Francis has been laid to rest at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome, in a simple underground tomb with just his papal name, Franciscus. His funeral on Saturday attracted as many as 250,000 people, rich and poor alike, who came to pay their respects.
Siamo partiti questa mattina per poter assistere al funerale di Francesco, del Papa Francesco, e abbiamo portato i disegni dei nostri bambini che non sono venuti e che avevano piacere in qualche modo di essere presenti, perché comunque lo hanno sempre seguito, comunque in casa lo conoscono come amico, come anche un nonno che si ascolta.
Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, who eulogized Pope Francis, memorialized him as a pope among the people, with an open heart towards everyone. After the funeral mass on St. Peter's Square, the Pope's coffin was moved to the Basilica of St. Mary Major for a private burial. Despite the attendance of presidents and princes, it was prisoners, transgender people, migrants, and the poor who welcomed his body into the church towards his final resting place. The Pope hoped the ceremony would reflect the priorities of his papacy, where he aimed to emphasize his role as a mere priest rather than a powerful religious leader.
President Trump and Zelensky met just before Pope Francis's funeral in the Vatican. The two leaders met privately, and President Trump apparently urged Ukraine and Russia to hold high-level talks to end Moscow's ongoing war. Euro News continues.
Dozens of world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, attended Pope Francis' funeral in the Vatican's St. Peter's Square on Saturday. According to the Ukrainian Presidency press service, a private meeting between Zelensky and Trump had taken place before the funeral service. The claim was confirmed by a White House communications director who described it as a very productive discussion, according to AP. Over 160 delegations, 60 heads of state, including European royals, attended the funeral mass service for the Pope in front of St. Peter's Basilica on Saturday morning. Cardinals in rich red robes formed a double queue, flanking the Pope's coffin as it was carried into the square. Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church, died on Monday at the age of 88 after suffering a stroke.
Luigi Magoine has pleaded not guilty to murder charges in killing of the United Healthcare's CEO. The killing and ensuing 5-day search leading to Magoine's arrest rattled the business community, with some health insurers deleting photos of the executives from their websites and switching to online stakeholder meetings. Euronews continues.
Luigi Mangione has pleaded not guilty to a federal murder charge in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The plea comes after federal prosecutors declared their intent to seek the death penalty against him. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said prosecutors are seeking capital punishment as they considered the murder an act of political violence. They added that there is reason to believe the attack on Thompson was premeditated in nature and cold-blooded in execution. The formal process of putting charges to Mangione for the killing last December attracted several dozen people to the federal courthouse in Manhattan. It was the first time the Justice Department said it was pursuing capital punishment since Donald Trump returned to the White House. President Trump had vowed to resume federal executions after they were halted under the Biden administration. Mangione's lawyers say Bondi's announcement was a political stunt that corrupted the grand jury and deprived him of his constitutional right to due process. The 26-year-old Maryland native has been held in a federal jail in Brooklyn since his arrest.
Report brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we go, here are some of the headlines one more time. More than 200,000 people, including around 50 world leaders, gathered at the Vatican this Saturday for the final farewell ceremony for the Pope Francis, marking it a historic moment of tribute and prayer. While Rwanda has begun taking steps to protect the economy as the future of the African Growth and Opportunity Act trade agreement with the U.S. remains uncertain. On the international scene, Trump and Zelensky hold private talks in Vatican, urging push for Russia-Ukraine peace negotiation. As always, thank you for trusting RTV News. I am William Evans, wishing you a good night and a brighter tomorrow. Goodbye.